The chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House the approval thereof. Representatives-elect are invited to join in the Pledge of Allegiance. For what purpose does the gentleman from Oklahoma seek recognition?
I move that we adjourn until noon tomorrow.
The question now occurs on the motion of the gentleman from Oklahoma. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
Call it, sir. How do you hear it? Just call the notice.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California?
Madam Clerk, I ask for the yeas and nays.
Madam Clerk, you have to call the voice vote.
The
Guys have it, the yeas and nays are ordered.
have it, the yeas and nays are ordered.
Requested. The yeas and nays are requested.
The yeas and nays are requested.
Continue to read, Chair.
A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device.
The House of Representatives, for the first time in 2 days, taking an actual vote to adjourn. They've done it by voice vote over the last couple of days, but tonight you heard a rowdy response from the lawmakers in the chamber demanding a vote. This is being done electronically, so we expect it to go quickly. You can see it's a 15-minute vote. All the members are in the chamber, so they'll start voting. You can see the numbers are racking up. After that, if they get the votes that they need to adjourn, they will be out of session from the House floor until noon tomorrow, and presumably negotiations will continue for As Speaker, the U.S. House of Representatives is still without one. No lawmaker has secured the necessary votes, and this is the first time in 100 years that this Speaker vote has gone to multiple ballots. Chad Pergram of Fox News saying if the House votes against adjourning, the House is compelled to take another vote on Speaker. That will be the 7th vote. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the tally on this motion to adjourn. You can see the votes are taking place. They are doing this electronically. They have about 9 minutes left in this vote. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see C-SPAN cameras capturing the action on the floor as lawmakers mill about and they wait for this vote to conclude and see what happens next. Like all of us, are they going to get the votes to adjourn until noon tomorrow, or will they be compelled to take a 7th vote for Speaker? Robert Costa, who reports for CBS News, is reporting that McCarthy allies are telling colleagues that his meeting tonight with the critics was an airing of grievances that wasn't a disaster. Many problems remain, but Emmer, that's the whip for the Republicans, Tom Emmer, who counts votes, Emmer's office huddle, have at least sustained conversations. McCarthy is not dropping out. He still sees a path, according to several House Republicans. He also, Robert Costa, reporting that the view among the old bulls on the GOP side tonight is that the group of McCarthy critics is not a monolith. And while Gates and Boebert and a few others might never vote A, hard promises on how primaries and committees are handled could nudge this a bit, but the talks need time to unfold, and that is why you saw Tom Cole, Republican of Oklahoma, an ally of Kevin McCarthy, offer this motion to adjourn. Couple minutes left here on this vote to adjourn until noon tomorrow. You can see Democrats are in unison in voting no on adjourning. They've been joined by one Democrat, Paul Gosar one Republican, excuse me, Paul Gosar of Arizona. We've also learned that Catherine Clark, the Democratic whip, has advised members that they should stick around on the House floor for the possibility of a seventh vote. If this motion to adjourn is not approved, the House will move to a seventh vote for Speaker of the House.
Have all members-elect voted? Does any member-elect wish to change his vote?
Right, Susan. So this is step. Read the change.
Off no, on aye for Mr. Gosar.
Last
On this vote, the yeas are 213.
That's not a rule yet, Tom.
Mr. Jackson of Texas. Mr. Jackson of Texas votes aye. Mrs. Pedersen. Mrs. Pedersen votes no. Ms. Stansberry. Ms. Stansberry votes no. Ms. Van Dyne. Ms. Van Dyne voted aye.
On this vote, the yeas are 200. On this vote, the yeas are 216. The nays are 214. Accordingly, the motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until noon tomorrow.
The gavel has come down, and you can see the motion to adjourn was approved. It looked like a nail biter there toward the end. You can see the lawmakers in the well of the chamber, many of them yelling it sounded like to hold the vote open. There were a handful of people that did not vote at all on this motion to adjourn. It was approved, though, 216 to 214. That means the House is coming back tomorrow at noon. We will see what happens in between now and then on this vote to elect the next speaker for this new Congress, the 118th Congress. They are in their second day of proceedings, and they have not gone past the vote for speaker. We're getting your reaction to what you have seen over the last 48 hours. George, thanks for hanging in Oak Harbor, Washington, Democratic caller. Go ahead, George, your turn.
Thank you very much. I've been laughing so hard the past 2 days, I almost wet myself. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat for sure, but I don't vote for Republicans. You know, most of the Republican conference, 150 some out of them, didn't vote to accept the last election 2 years ago. Give them a chance to drive the car, and they don't want to even drive themselves. This stuff really bothers me. I'm a veteran. I've been fed and educated by this country, and they make a joke out of it all.
All right. Scott in Texas. Scott, good evening to you.
Yeah, hey, good evening. Yeah, I don't know. I think what they're doing is what they should do. I think we have a man that can lead this country, that can get some stuff done, that can make a plan, that it's not a sheep, and all the people, once all the facts were known about all the stuff that happened, the lies, anyone that perpetuates that lie, so that should be removed. And they need a man in there. I don't care if the guy's got 100 IQ, but if he's a good, honest man.
Well, who is that? Who is that, in your opinion?
I have, I'm in it, and I haven't studied every one, but I know there's good people.
All right, Scott, I'm going to let you go because you're breaking up a little bit. Hard to follow you. Edna in Alabama, Republican. Let's hear from you.
Hey there. For George's information, I have voted in person in every election ever since that I was old enough to vote. At age 21, I am a senior citizen, and I am for Steve Scalise. I am not for McCarthy because there have been news reports on just this evening that he's possibly capable of just caving in to the Democrats, and we don't need anybody that's going to cave in. The Democrats are running amok because they've gone with that crazy communistic socialism. I was born on the heels of World War II. I know how bad we fought against communism when I was growing up.
All right. Edna
And
there
I
in
know
Alabama
what
is
the
saying that
true
she.
America is.
Edna in Alabama is saying that she would like to see Steve Scalise nominated. She's not for Kevin McCarthy. More of your thoughts, though, so hang on the line. Keep dialing in. We're going to get to them here in just a minute. Eric Wasson, who covers all of the action on Capitol Hill for Bloomberg, is joining us. Okay, Eric Wasson, tell us why this motion to adjourn occurred tonight, right after they came back in at 8 p.m.
Well, there was a big closed-door meeting between Kevin McCarthy and some of these naysay voters. And McCarthy came out and said it was not productive to have another vote. They need to continue talking to come to some meeting of the minds on the Republican side. And so he moved to adjourn until tomorrow to continue those conversations with the rebels in his conference.
So what do you know happens next? I mean, yesterday when they adjourned after those 3 votes, what happened? Who was talking to who? And do those talks continue tonight?
The talks are continuing. I would divide the dissidents between those who are probably flippable. I put in that category people like Chip Roy, Ralph Norman, people whose primary concerns are clearly policy-oriented. Now, their demands may be unpalatable or unreachable, but they're things that they're working on, versus someone like Matt Gaetz, who clearly has personal animosity with McCarthy and talks more about apologies he's seeking and other more personal things, and he may not be flippable at all. So there was talks with all of these people. The ones who are more policy-oriented came out and said they're willing to continue what they call good discussions. And like I said, we had Gaetz and Boebert come out saying that they're never going to support McCarthy.
You've had 20 votes in opposition to Kevin McCarthy over the past 2 days. You've had 1 member today vote present instead of voting for Kevin McCarthy. So what is the magic number? Explain that to our viewers. And how many of those 20 can he actually flip?
Well, he says that he only needs to really flip 11. He thinks that he can get others to vote present. But, we talked to those members, who are more personally opposed to him. They say they're not willing to do that. So, the fact is, if everyone is voting for another person, he really needs to get to that 218 level, given the number of the House and the unity of the Democrats. Now, there is a possibility he could work with Democrats to get them to vote president in order to get himself elected speaker, but he has to do major concessions to them. Brad Sherman told us that he's a Democrat from California, that they would need to, agree to raise the debt ceiling. Possibly, they're talking about giving some gavels or more seats to Democrats, more of a real coalition government that we haven't really seen in the House before. And I just don't, see that Republicans are really going for that at this point. Ironically, if the threat of that could help get their own members in line, it's a very risky strategy, because if McCarthy is perceived as trying to do such a deal with Democrats, he could alienate more Republicans.
Is there a consensus candidate within the Republican Party?
There really isn't. I mean, I've long thought that the fallback could be Steve Scalise. I still think that if the pieces really fall apart, we're talking about going into next week or beyond, with McCarthy continuing to be unable to sway people, perhaps another person like that with some leadership experience could step in and be considered more of a fresh slate, cut some of these deals and move on. But at this point, we're not there yet. McCarthy's team is sticking with him. Jim Jordan may have more appeal. This is, the Ohio Republican to the moderates than someone like Andy Biggs, but he only was able to get 20 at this point. And, we've heard that maybe he'd get 80, but there just are people in swing districts who wouldn't feel comfortable with someone with those conservative bona fides really leading the party and possibly alienating the swing voters they need to get reelected in 2024.
All right, Eric Wasson, what are you watching for? Who are you watching over the next, 12 hours or so?
Well, I have a real look on Ralph Norman here. He's one of the hardcore 4 or 5 people, but he continues to talk about budgetary issues, something I'm very conversant in. And he just basically said he wants a debt ceiling showdown. That's a big deal for us at Bloomberg. If he's going to have a market-rattling debt ceiling showdown, that's one of his demands. He wants McCarthy to commit to being willing to shut down the government to get spending cut. If he gets his demands, that's going to be a big deal for us. if he gets some version of it and goes over to McCarthy, that's a big deal for Kevin McCarthy in earnest. So I just think it very much depends on that, and Democrats will, I believe, in earnest. So I just think it very much depends on that, and Democrats will, I believe, continue to oppose motions to adjourn and continue to unite around Hakeem Jeffries because they just feel this is very good politics for them.
Eric Wasson, I don't know where you were during that motion to adjourn vote, but what do you know about the chaos on the floor, the screaming that we heard from lawmakers toward the clerk about, calling the vote and gaveling it down?
Yeah, I was in the chamber. This is the House clerk who's not experienced at running a parliamentary meeting. She was a bit confused and had to be talked to by the parliamentarian staff about what to do next, about calling a roll call vote, or if that even was in order, which she then did. And there was chaos at the end of the vote because the Democrats didn't muster their full quorum, and people were literally running in from the exits. And not all Democrats did show up in the end, but they were screaming to hold the vote open because the chair is not controlled by either party. The clerk just closed it. If we had seen Democrats in the chair, they would have held it open. If it was Republicans, they would have closed it sooner. But because the gavel is in the hands of a nonpartisan figure, she just rolled it and closed it as soon as she could.
And that's because they haven't elected a speaker yet, right, Eric Wasson?
Exactly. We're in an endless time loop, it seems here. Groundhog Day, as Kat Kamrak said on the floor.
Eric Wassonworth, Bloomberg, covers Capitol Hill. You can follow him on Twitter at EL Wasson. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Deborah in Warsaw, Virginia, Democratic caller. Let's get your take on this, Deborah. Good evening.
Good evening. First of all, I'm not a Democrat. Second of all, I'm definitely for Kevin McCarthy. He's done more for this party than anybody standing in that chamber. And I want to remind the United States of America right now, how many people lost their lives defending our freedom? How many people have fought to save this country from communistic state of mind? And the Bible plainly says that a house divided will not stand, and a house united will not fall. So we need to come together on both sides of the aisle. We need to put God first. When they changed our money, if you look at our quarters right now, "In God we trust" is behind the man's head, not in front of it like it used to be. We have ditched God in this country, and that's why we're being punished, and we're being held our feet to the fire.
All right, so Deborah, let me ask you about your support for Kevin McCarthy. Why do you like him?
Because he went to more places and tried his very hardest to raise more money than anybody else has ever done, to try to get the Republicans back in at least half power. It's not about Republican and Democratic. It's really not. It's about the regular person just like me who makes $30,000, $40,000 a year struggling through this economy and all of these bad decisions that's being made by this administration, our wide open borders. I mean, the prison break in Mexico. I'm tired of people that just want to hate somebody. I don't care who is the president as long as they put God first and put this country first.
Okay.
Whether they're Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. It matters whether they hold our feet to the fire to believe that the Lord is in control, not
All right.
us.
So, Deborah, let me ask you this. Jake Tapper tweeting out that House GOP tells him there was talk of a fellow McCarthy supporter nominating Steve Scalise tonight to be Speaker, which is one of the reasons why Kevin McCarthy called for immediate vote to adjourn until noon Thursday. Would you back Steve Scalise?
I will back whoever the majority is. When you see them call for the majority, almost every one of those Republicans stand up. 200 is the majority. It's not 218, but it's 200. I mean, most of the people in the Republican Party, all of them, it is unfair for those ones that are holding out for selfish gain for their own state or their own constituents. This is not about one state or one constituent. This is about all of us. We are all suffering in this economy. We are all suffering from the lack of presidency that is going on right now.
Okay. So, Deborah, as she notes, it's not the majority. It's the majority present. It's the majority that are voting by name is what I should say, because that is key to the magic number that one lawmaker needs to become Speaker of the House. Tim in Fresno, California, Republican.
Thank you for taking my call. The last two callers were great. They reflect a lot of my sentiments. I too agree that I think this is about the budget that they just passed, and this is a way to get attention, as a good representative republic does, of issues of the day. This is a caucus that's pushing this, and they want to get attention. They want to know that Kevin McCarthy's not going to cave when it comes to all this money that they're spending. Checks they can't cash. Checks that my grandchildren aren't going to be able to cash. And it's quite concerning what's going on in this country today, with interest rates and the Fed raising them for reasons that I won't get into, or I wish not to discuss. It's a message that we shouldn't be spending money. It's just unconscionable what's going on. So I don't care who speaker is. I think this is a way to get attention and bring this topic to the fore, of that of spending money that we don't have as a nation. They should be cutting things, not spending $1.7 trillion. My God. So
Tim, am I following you that you are in support of what these Republicans are doing, the 20 that are objecting?
Absolutely, 100%. It's a clown show, and it's ridiculous. But if it brings this topic to the fore, then all the better, because most people, I think, in the country aren't paying attention to this.
And this is a way to get them to pay attention.
I hope so.
Okay. Stephanie in Cincinnati, Ohio, Democratic caller. Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. First off, I don't think that any Republican in our current Congress would vote for a Democrat. Okay. So I truly believe that I would like to see Congressman Jeffries stand up and put Liz Cheney up for the Speaker of the House, okay? And get all of his fellow Democrats to transfer the votes from him to Liz. I really think that there may be enough Republicans out there in the Congress who are old school Republicans who know that Liz is born and bred Republican, who would be willing to vote for Liz. Okay, she's honest, and she could stand up to the Democrats as well as standing up to the wild side on the Republican Party. And she's not beholden to either side at this point, either party, since she's not in office. And it would set a fantastic precedent for having a speaker who wasn't beholden to either party. And on a personal level, I'd like to see a strong woman back in the job. That's what I would like.
Stephanie, what do you think of the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries?
I like him. I really think he's great. But like I said, you're never going to get a Republican congressman to vote for anybody on the Democratic side, so it's hopeless over there. I mean, they should be, I think the Democrats should be stepping up to try to resolve this, to get it finished and get a speaker put in place so that the country can move on. And the only way to do that is to put someone up who will get the votes. And I think that might be Cheney.
Okay. Thomas in Gambrills, Maryland, Democratic caller. Let's hear from you, Thomas.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. I totally disagree with that last caller. I don't think she'd get 5 votes. Anyway, I think right now the Democrats ought to step up and vote, maybe 14 or 15, whatever they need, 17 if they need to, and get this session over with and move on to get the jobs they're on the floor to do. Let's move ahead instead of stalling around electing a House Speaker. We need to get that over with. We can't even start anything in the House right now because we have no Speaker.
That's right. Nakia in Las Vegas. We'll go to Nakia. Your turn.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
We're listening to you. Your reaction to this speaker vote.
So I'm kind of divided because on the one hand, I do think that they have a right to that is that I think it's ridiculous because no one has as many votes as McCarthy. And when you're putting people up who are getting 10, 15, or 20 votes as opposed to his 201 or his 203, that's who we have. And I think it's wrong when the American people are struggling so bad. And, the Republicans have day one, day two, and look where we're at.
So,
It's
Nakia,
not,
what if there was a consensus candidate that these 20 Republicans could vote for, along with those that have been supporting McCarthy?
It would depend who it was. I think that, I think if it's somebody everybody can agree on, absolutely. Because someone needs to be put in place, but I feel like...
What do you know about Steve Scalise? What do you think about that possibility?
I like Steve Scalise, but I don't know if he will get as many votes as McCarthy. And here's why, because McCarthy has so many political ties. He's been in office for a long time. I think he raised, it's $240 or $250 million for the Republican Party this last, election cycle. And so he's well known. And so even though he might be kind of a snake, some people think, and, whatnot, however, there's the provision in place that they can remove him after, I think it is a year. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but that provision is in place. So I don't understand why they're still stalling. It's a clown show as far as I'm concerned. It really is. And I think the way that the Democrats are acting is horrible with the way that they're screaming and yelling. It's just, we are taxpayers. It's our money paying for them. And this is what we get. And I think that the American people deserve much better. They need to, I feel like these 20 people now holding out, it's like, it's not about you. This is about the United States. This is about the people, we the people who pay your salary, do the right thing, and it's just like, to me, it almost feels like blackmail. How are you going to back somebody into a corner and say, oh, well, I want this? You know what? No, that's not the way it works. You're here to serve the people and to do what's best for us. So I feel like they need to concede. They need to just vote for McCarthy so they can get on with their work and stop this nonsense. Because when they go up and, they're putting up Jim Jordan, who I absolutely love, but he doesn't even want the job. He doesn't want to do it. So they're putting up people who are getting 10, 20 votes, and that's it. And it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of the people's time. I don't think it's right.
Okay, Nakia. Judy, in Inverness, Florida, Democratic caller.
Hi, this is Judy. If you don't mind, I'd like to address a couple of your last callers. I am an extremely proud Democrat, and I've been even more proud watching what's been going on because my Democrats have shown up for each other. Hakeem Jeffries got it done because he's a good person, and that's why they're doing it. First of all, the wall, the border. They raised all kinds of money to build that wall, and I'm pretty sure Trump's best friend stole that money and got convicted of it. Second of all, if McCarthy was such a great person, after January 6th, why did he go to Mar-a-Lago and kiss the ring of Trump? Seriously, when Trump supported him on this seat, half the Republicans should have dropped him right at that moment because supporting Trump is not a support for peace or democracy. And the people on both sides want peace. So McCarthy, because he doesn't know who he is and where he's at, and if he's willing to, excuse my expression, kiss the butt of somebody who is a butt, he doesn't deserve to have that seat. He really doesn't.
Okay, Judy. We'll go to California. Herb's joining us, a Republican. Your turn.
Hello. I'm a lifelong Republican. I wasn't a Trump supporter. But just a couple of callers ago, one of the callers mentioned God, and we've gotten away from God. And I think that has divided this country and politics more than anything. God wasn't on coins before World War II. So that's one quick thing. The second thing is I think that what this group of 20 are doing now they're going to do for anything that tries to get past whoever the speaker is. And they're holding the entire thing hostage. And this is a group of people that are Trump and MAGA supporters. And it's divisive. We lived through 4 years of divisiveness. And I think that whoever the speaker turns out to be is going to be in trouble.